Hey guys, how's it going? Preparing here. So going through Diablo 3, I want to show you guys my take on some of the new content, some of the new legendary gems. Now, I think I know what's going on with the game pretty well at this exact point in time. I mean, I'm on hardcore, I'm hitting top stuff, did solo 31 Greater Rift, group 31 Greater Rift. We're going to do much higher, but our tank died. But you get the idea. And it's interesting that most of the content has to do with these gems. And I'm going to talk about each one, some more quickly than others, just so you guys have some idea of what's good, what's terrible, and at least give you the rough concept of what's being used and what isn't. So here we go. We'll start with the coolest one, Boon of the Hoarder. Basically, if you use this, you kill stuff directly, so without pets. Actually, I think in the last patch they added pets to be able to proc it, but I'm not entirely sure. You get a shitload of gold doing this. So if you're low on gold, and I'm starting to be, well, go ahead, put this gem on. One thing to keep in mind is that these type of gems can only be socketed in jewelry. So your amulet and your 2 rings. And if you don't have sockets in those, you should get them because this is the #1 type of gem. The new legendary gems beat out every other stat possible on a ring. So you have to keep this in mind, and you have to consider that there's a maximum of 3. So while some may be pretty good, some legendary gems might be all right, you have to consider the opportunity cost. If you use this, what do you take out of those 3 from the typical 3 generally? And this is pretty relevant, and I'm going to start with exactly this as an example. So my Demon Hunter uses this gem of efficacious toxin, poison gem. And I use it because of the secondary bonus. All gems have a primary bonus, the one that they start with, and it increases based on leveling it, and you can choose to level it as you complete or fail greater rifts. And once you hit level 25, you get another bonus, which is usually a passive. And the poison gem, it's pretty good in the early stages of the game because the proc itself just wipes everything out on like Torment 1. But in the higher torments or in greater rifts where that much damage over 10 seconds is okay, but it's not that much when you consider that you might do a lot more than that. I use it because enemies I poison take 10% increased damage from all sources, so this is more or less of a group buff. Everyone else in my group also does 10% increased damage. So I use this gem when I'm in a group, and I use the other 3 when I'm not. But because I haven't seen anyone else with this gem, I decided to level this up first. The 3 other gems are Bane of the Trapped, which enemies that are basically CC'd in any way take additional damage. This gem is really powerful because we've recently found out that this gem is in its own category for a multiplier, which usually is not the case with the other ones. The other ones include Bane of the Powerful, so 20% increased damage for 55 seconds after killing an elite pack, and the passive is 15 additional damage to elites. So this is a very good gem, but if you have a lot of increased damage modifiers, for instance, if you're playing a Barbarian and you're using what I hope still works this way is the Insanity Rune on Wrath of Berserker, you go from your base damage of 100 multiplied twice with Insanity, 200. This is effectively a 10% bonus to damage, and if the targets you're hitting are snared, this is a 24.3 bonus to damage. So you can see which one wins out there, and this is fairly relevant, and this is something mostly exceptional with the Bane of the Trapped. Bane of the Powerful, very good gem. If you have a lot of increased damage modifiers, specifically in the case that I mentioned, this is not the best, but still quite strong for just about everything. The other gem that the Demon Hunters generally use, because this is the Sentry build, they use the Pet Gem. The Pet Gem does not look impressive, but when a class does most of its damage through pets and doesn't actually have pet skills, like the Demon Hunter, well, suddenly it's pretty amazing. There are some Demon Hunter Sentry builds that do pretty much all of their damage through the sentries. Mine, because I have the bow that I have the Crider shot, and I can actually DPS myself. I have enough hatred to manage that. It's not as relevant for me, but Enforcer is pretty good. If you're soloing, you can choose it over the Poison Gem, but I still like the Poison Gem. Often I still use it when I'm solo because I do a lot of my own damage. I do hit the mobs. The other gem, which I consider top tier, these are the top tier gems, by the way, is Wreath of Lightning. There's very few classes which this is not a good gem for. Unfortunately, while it is a very good gem, it is not as good as any of the others for a Demon Hunter. Once this procs, it's a chance on hit to basically gain the conduit effect from one of the Rift Shrines. And it just zaps everything in the little range. And it's amazing. And the secondary bonus is also amazing. 25% increased movement speed. Many classes can just keep up the first effect permanently. And if you keep up the first effect permanently, you also gain 25% movement speed permanently. And as I should let you guys know, in the very high level of Greater Rifts, everything pretty much almost or does one-shot you. So dodging stuff, as in moving aside from projectiles, moving aside from melee attacks, that's really important. And while this is a very good gem, I can't use it because all 4 of the others are better. And with the same notion of Greater Rifts, that you pretty much get one-shotted and you use your cheat death mechanic not to actually die, is why this gem is, in my opinion, garbage. Maybe in the case of like a barbarian or something, because you have a little bit more of a flood of fury, maybe it's okay. But yeah, I think this sucks because if I get one-shotted for an incredible amount of damage, my cheat death is going to proc, and then after my cheat death procs, I'm going to continue taking damage. So this is terrible. If this hits the threshold of you getting one-shotted or not one-shotted, a case can be made for using the gem, but in general, terrible. These are like the medium tier gems. This one just zaps a target for holy damage, chance on hit. It's not quite as good as some of the other ones. For instance, this one triggers the Wreath of Lightning, and if you attack really, really, really fast, maybe this is okay. If you attack slow, you want to use the Toxin Gem. Some Crusaders I know use this gem because of the secondary bonus where it just zaps someone for every 5 seconds, just on its own, and the blue part of the gem is the one that scales up, so the damage that it does scales up. So this is okay for some, especially I'd imagine holy builds in general. The swiftness is okay. You can build up a lot of attack speed. You have to note that the part that goes up is the chance to gain the swiftness. It's not the actual attack speed. And mostly why I would use this is the cooldown reduction, because if you can stack it 15 times, it's 15% cooldown reduction, and some builds are basically built around cooldown reduction. So anything they can get is good, and 15% is a lot. Pain Enhancer is similar to this thing, Mirani Teardrop, whatever, the one that does the zapping. It's similar to that in that it does a percent weapon-based effect on hit. The Pain Enhancer is much lower damage. However, it's procced from a crit rather than a hit. So if you have like a medium to slow attack speed, the Pain Enhancer is quite good, especially if you're not overkilling targets when you do crit them. And it's also important if you have like a medium attack speed and you're not killing stuff that quickly anyway, that you can get the secondary bonus. So I don't know specifically what kind of build would use this, but I would imagine there are some. This is the, it's like kind of like a crazy gem. I mean, you have to use a primary resource every 3 seconds for it to work, but as a base, it stacks to 20 times. I've seen gems that stack almost to 50 times. And if you get 0.5 damage stacking 50 times, that's 25% damage, and the secondary bonus, 25% armor. So if you're like a tank, you just get in there, you want to do a little bit more damage, you want to get a little bit of armor. It's a very good gem. I've seen this used on a lot of monk tank builds. These are, in my opinion, the bottom tier gems. While under control impairing effects, reduce all damage taken by 30%. I don't think this is very good. The secondary bonus is pretty good if you have a lot of life, but in general, the way the game works is if you get hit with CC, you want to have something to break it, because it's not necessarily the damage that you're going to take from the CC. It's the fact that you can't move, so you're going to get like surrounded, you're going to get hit by other stuff, that kind of stuff, and taking like a bit less damage is not usually going to make a difference, even though the gem by itself does look pretty good. I can imagine this might be useful in some tank builds that don't have a lot of cooldowns to escape bad situations. The last one I'm going to cover is the one that increases the damage of your primary skills. Primary skills are usually ones that, as a default, so without any modifiers or any items, they add to your resource. And generally those skills are garbage. So that's why this gem I consider quite garbage. Even a lot of classes that rely on their primary skills, for instance, like Monk, it's not that good just because there are other ones that are more powerful than this. And you know, there is some to be said. I think some monks can get a lot of benefit from the healing from the secondary portion of this if they use an attack that hits very quickly. But still, in general, I have not seen this used, and it's going to take some imagination. So that's about it. Another thing to note is that some gems are very powerful when they hit level 25 because of the passive or usually passive bonus. And for example, I'm going to use Bane of the Powerful. So you get 15% elite damage when you hit 25. But if you go after level 25, you guys can see directly the text in blue that says gain damage for duration. And that duration is the part that increases after level 25. You really don't have to level this at all. So when you're doing rifts, even though this might be the lowest level gem at level 25, it still might be a pretty poor idea to level it up because you're not really going to gain anything. Like if I level this gem up, instead of 55 seconds after killing an elite pack, I'm going to retain the bonus. It's going to be 56 seconds. So that's not really any better. That's just another thing to consider when you're distributing the levels on your gems. Some, you know, their multipliers keep going up. That's why Bane of the Trapped is so amazing. And others, you know, they get marginal benefits, kind of like the Poison Gem. You know, I just get a little bit more weapon damage. But the reason why I have this gem is because I want to do a 10% damage debuff on anything I hit. However, you know, even though I probably gain like 50% more weapon damage, so like just over 1%, it's still, in my opinion, better than like Bane of the Powerful. So, some things to consider: how you distribute your gems, how you distribute the levels in them, which ones to choose. Hope you guys make the right decisions, and in general, there's a lot to explore, and I would be very surprised if we don't see quite a few more gems being added. Maybe not too soon, but probably at the very least in the next content patch. So, a lot of good stuff to look forward to, and, well, let's hope it's in the nearer future. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy it. I'll see you guys tomorrow.